On today's episode, Toughest Mudder East, Philly preview with Javier Escobar.
This is the world's toughest podcast. Welcome to the world's toughest podcast, where we talk about any obstacle course race you'd like, as long as that's world's toughest mudder. Each week we talk to members of the WTM community and share stories of success and failure in the single greatest event in OCR. My name is Will Hicks, and this is the world's toughest podcast.
Welcome back to World's Toughest Podcast. How are you? I've missed you, friend. My name is Will Hicks. Thank you for listening to World's Toughest Podcast. You can email me at willhicks@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheWillHicks. You can follow the show on Instagram at World's Toughest Podcast. And you can follow the OCR Report on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the OCR Report. What is the OCR Report? I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you in a second. But first, how are you? The first Toughest Mudder of 2019 comes up this weekend. And we're going to talk about it with a sponsored athlete, Javier Escobar. Javier is sponsored by Obstacle Running Adventures. That is the podcast of Mike Stefano and Caitlin Ritter, who you may have heard on these here podcast waves. A lot has happened since last we talked. So the last episode of World's Toughest Podcast was last year, end of last year. We were doing wrap-up from World's Toughest Mudder 2018. And the last actual episode we aired was the bar crawl episode, which I still think is a terrible name for an event. And yeah, I get it. You're crawling because you're sore and tired from bar to bar, whatever. But so since then, what has happened? First of all, the CEO of Tough Mudder, Will Dean, has left the company. Okay. The co-founder with Will Dean, a guy named Guy Livingston, has sued Tough Mudder, alleging financial improprieties. And, okay, I don't know anything about that. That's just all public record. The two main guys responsible for running World's Toughest Mudder for the last several years, multiple years, very smart guys. They've been on the show multiple times. Eli Hutchison and Nolan Campbell have both left the company. Okay. Prize money was removed from Toughest Mudder and World's Toughest Mudder from the company overall. There's no more prize money in any of the competitive Tough Mudder events. There's other prizing, but there's no prize money. So that's a thing. And we launched a brand new website and podcast called the OCR Report. When we started the OCR Report several months ago, I said, and I still believe it, and I said, the future of obstacle course racing is in the competitive side of the sport. There will always be guys like you and me that are going out to have fun. But people that want to sit on their couch on a Saturday and watch an event, watch something on ESPN, they want to watch a race. They want to watch Ryan Atkins versus Ryan Woods or Lindsey Webster versus Nicole Miracle. They don't want to watch teamwork and camaraderie. So I've said it and I believe it. The future of OCR is in the competitive side of the sport. That's what's going to be on TV. That's what's going to draw advertisers. That's what increases the financial pool. So I said that on the first episode of the OCR Report podcast. And then Tough Mudder said, hold up, Will, no more prize money. So, thanks. It's still true. Tough Mudder was going through a rough patch, but you know what? They have launched their season. The first event, Tough Mudder of the Year, was in SoCal a few weeks ago. By all accounts, it went great. The new CEO, by all accounts, is a great guy, doing a good job, invested in the company. concerned about the community, wants to stay plugged in, wants to stay involved. And we'll have him on the show in a future episode. So it was a rough kind of off season for Tough Mudder. I don't want to sugarcoat it, but it's not all negative, and it's not like death knells. I don't know. Time will tell. Something else I said. I don't know where I said it, but I said this in public. Even if Tough Mudder went away tomorrow, which is not going to happen, but even if they did, that would not invalidate the years of memories that you have, the experiences you had, the friends you've made, the training you've done, getting ready for events, everything you've done up to this point because of Tough Mudder, because of a Toughest Mudder coming up, or World's Toughest Mudder around the corner, or whatever it is. That's all real. That no one can take that away from you, whether or not a company or a corporation folds or goes under, which again is not happening tomorrow. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know, today's looking fine. This weekend will be the first Toughest Mudder of the year. It'll be the first 12-hour Toughest Mudder ever, and I will not be there, but I am looking forward to watching the coverage and seeing how it goes. We're going to have our guy, Carlo Piscatello. You know Carlo Piscatello from Piss and Cox. He'll be out there covering it on Instagram and social media for us. Check him out on Instagram at World's Toughest Podcast and the OCR Report. I've mentioned the OCR Report a few times. What is the OCR Report? You can go to the OCRreport.com, check it out. It's something that I have been working on with Mike Stefano and Caitlin Ritter and Heather Bodie. Mike and Caitlin have the Obstacle Running Adventures podcast. Heather has the Overcome and Run podcast. And then, as well as people like Kim DeVos and Carlo Piscatello. We have a great photographer working with us, a guy named Jack Goris. You might remember I talked before about when I started World's Toughest Podcast. I started it to scratch an itch that I had that wasn't being filled by anyone else. I wanted to hear about World's Toughest Mudder, and no one else was talking about it other than a few weeks before World's Toughest and a few weeks after it. I wanted to hear about it all year long. Like, hey, what's going on with World's Toughest? What are the elite athletes up to? What's going on? I wanted to stay motivated during the year for training, and that itch wasn't being scratched by anyone else out there. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to scratch my own itch. I'm going to do this myself. So I sat down with some YouTube videos, and I would watch YouTube on one screen and was putzing around on my laptop on the other screen trying to figure out how to start a podcast and like, what do you do? And, we started World's Toughest Podcast. And that was 2.5 years ago. Probably 3 years ago we started the thought process for it. And the OCR Report kind of came from the same thing. The sport side of OCR, I truly believe it's the future of the sport. Television, and I know a lot of us don't watch live TV anymore. But you know what the exception is? The exception is sports. Sports and appointment TV like Game of Thrones are things that people want to watch live. And we're not making another Game of Thrones, but the live sport side of OCR has so much untapped growth that I want to know about the races. I want to know who's winning. I want to know who's losing. I want to know what those results from last week mean going into next week's race. And so that's what we've been covering on the OCR Report podcast. So check it out. I don't want to plug it too heavily or whatever. I know we've been talking about it for a while, but it's what I've been working on for a while. Very excited about it. The OCRreport.com. So what have you been up to? How has your season been so far? Shoot me an email, willhicks@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. I will read, and in fact, I will read some in a future episode. Let me know what you're doing. Let me know what you're training for. Let me know what your plans are for World's Toughest 2019. Will I see you at a Toughest Mudder this year? What do you think about the 12-hour race? I'm looking forward to getting reports from this weekend. Speaking of this weekend, Javier Escobar is going to run the race this weekend. Javier is a sponsored athlete. He is sponsored by Obstacle Running Adventures. Mike and Caitlin show, we talked about it. We talk about his sponsorship and what that actually means toward the end of our conversation. If you are running Toughest Mudder East, be sure to pay attention. We talk about all the obstacles, We talk about pit strategy. We talk about nutrition. We talk about wetsuits and hoods and what his plan is for this weekend. And we give an overview of the course. It should be a great kickoff to the Toughest Mudder season. There is also a Toughest Mudder in the UK this weekend. We are looking forward to seeing how that goes. Toughest Mudder UK is the only Toughest Mudder that's been in the same venue every year, the 3 years they've had Toughest Mudder. Some great venues like Whistler, one and done, 1 year and done. Germany, 1 year and done. All of the U.S. races have moved around venues. They haven't had a Toughest Mudder in the same spot in the U.S. twice yet. So good on you, UK, for hanging on to that one spot. And also, for the first time, I missed it this year, it's not on Mother's Day weekend, which is impossible for me to pull off. So maybe next year I'll be able to fly out for Toughest Mudder UK. It's time to talk with Javier Escobar. Let's go to the phones. Javier Escobar, welcome to the show.
Hey, Will, how you doing?
So good. Javier, this is your first time on World's Toughest Podcast.
Yes. When I got your message, I knew that I had officially made it in the OCR world.
Now, you wrote an article for the OCR report like last year, or maybe beginning of this year?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. Was it one or two? I think it was one. Yeah, it was one article. No, good. 2 articles. Yeah.
And then you actually made it far before that. Like, how did you do at World's Toughest last year?
I ran 80 miles and in 24 hours and 35 minutes, I believe, and I finished exactly with Matt Lister.
And what place did you come in?
Was it 7th overall or 8th overall?
I think it was 7th overall, yeah.
Yeah, 7th. And then Matt was right there with me, too. So,
hey, before we talk about Toughest Mudder East this weekend, what are your plans for World's Toughest this year?
100 miles. 100 miles or bust. Oh, crap. Now it's official. I put it out there in the world, huh?
You got to own it now. Yeah. 100 miles will get you pretty far off that podium.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, it isn't about like trying to get onto the podium or anything like that. I just want to better what I did, last year. So I think 100 miles is a pretty good goal. I mean, on top of that, I'm also trying to qualify for Boston. So, my training has been consisting of running on flat roads, but then also running trails. So it's kind of interesting.
Let's talk about Toughest Mudder East this weekend. Have you run a Toughest Mudder before, Javier?
Yes, I've ran a couple of Toughest Mudders, probably like 5 or 6 of them or something like that. I actually ran Philly 2 years ago, or when they first debuted it, and then I ended up getting 25 miles there. That was my first actual Toughest Mudder that I did.
Up till this year, Toughest Mudder has been an 8-hour race. This is the first year it'll be a 12-hour race. What do you think about that?
I think it's great, especially for the people that are trying to prepare for World's Toughest Mudder. It's a good introductory to pit strategies and just kind of the overall environment in which you're going to be facing out there. If you hit like a good mileage at that, within that 12-hour mark, you'll be in good shape for World's Toughest. Just keep moving.
Now, you are running as part of a 2-man team. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Joshua put it out there, and then I was kind of debating on whether, running it solo or not for a couple of weeks leading up to this event. And he put it out there, and I took that as the sign of you got to run this as a relay. And that's where we're at.
Who's your partner?
It's Joshua Reed.
Josh, he did pretty well for himself last year at World's Toughest also.
He did all right. I think, did he place 5th overall with 85 miles?
He did very well, yes.
Yeah, he was telling me, actually, I was talking to him earlier, and he ended up spending a good amount of time. I think his cumulative time in the pit was, 3+ hours. So if he would have actually been out there consistently, I think he would have been up there with the top 3.
Let's talk about Toughest Mudder East. It's going to be a 12-hour race, 5-mile looped course. There are 19 obstacles on this 5-mile loop. We'll go through the course, just kind of obstacle by obstacle, and you can talk about how you get through each obstacle.
Okay.
The first obstacle is Kiss of Mud 2.0.
I either roll or I crawl. It just depends. For the most part, I think rolling is probably the best way to get through that obstacle.
And then the second obstacle is pitfall. Pitfall is usually like a big mud puddle with some holes in it.
Pitfall, I mean, it's just every single lap, just try to figure out which one is the best route, and then right after that, just continue to do it the same way every single lap. Take the same line every single lap.
Those are the only two obstacles on the first mile. After you pass the 1 mile mark, you'll come to Mud Mile 2.0.
All right, so there, just stick to the sides. Try to crawl up on the side walls there. It's probably the fastest, most efficient way. Or, once it starts to get broken down, usually you'll find little ways that you can get through them rather easily. It kind of gets beat up in certain sections.
The race is going to be Saturday night, so there's a regular Tough Mudder all day on Saturday before, so it might already be beaten down when you get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just trying to find the best line on that one.
The fourth obstacle is a new obstacle from World's Toughest last year, Black Widow. Black Widow is the one with the cargo straps. It's kind of a maze of cargo straps you have to make your way through.
Oh, yeah. It's a fairly simple obstacle. It's just kind of, if there are more people on it, there's more tension. It's easier for you to get through it. It's a fairly easy obstacle. I don't foresee that being any difficult for anybody, actually.
What do you do with your feet on those cargo straps?
I take the line, just take a straight line across. I don't try to go across two of them or anything like that.
Do you kind of stand sideways, or do you do like toe to heel?
Toe to heel.
And you can hang on with your hands also to the other, crisscrossing straps.
Yeah.
After Black Widow is Funky Monkey.
Funky Monkey is an interesting one. That one you kind of have to decide on, whether you want to expend the energy and to get through it or not. Sometimes it's faster to just take the penalty on that rather than try to get through the entire obstacle.
You'll see that a lot, especially toward the end of the race. The last 4 hours, the last 2 hours, people come up to it and they just kind of jump in the water. Instead of doing the monkey bars across, they jump in the water. You have to swim across or wade across and then do a short penalty loop. Yeah.
Unless you're Ryan Atkins.
But you know what? Some people actually, if some people that are weaker in their upper body, they might actually do that from the beginning just to save their upper body for the must complete obstacles like Berlin Walls or, stuff where you need to have that upper body strength.
Right. And that one is kind of interesting because, I've been doing a lot of rock climbing and all that good stuff since the beginning of the year. But even still, my hands have a tendency of getting really cold. And that's really what causes me to fail some of these obstacles is just that I have very poor circulation to my hands and my feet. So, again, it's, the strategy around that for me, at least, would be looking at it and seeing whether I can continue to push through it or, take the penalty.
Hey, while we're talking about cold hands, what is your plan for wetsuit, gloves, hood, and the whole thing?
Definitely the black mitts are going to be coming with me. I have a neoprene cap that I'll be utilizing. And I have a split suit, which is just a 1.5 mil top and a 1.5 mil bottom that I'm going to try out. I don't think that it's going to be necessary to be utilizing one of the like a full wetsuit, since the temperatures look like they're going to be like in the 60 degrees for the most part. And I get it with water and all that good stuff. You have a tendency of getting colder, but if you're moving fast, then that usually isn't a problem.
After Funky Monkey is Skid Marked. What is Skid Marked?
Skid Mark is the inverted wall.
How do you get over Skid Marked?
I usually just I jump right. It just depends. I try to find the low point. A lot of people have a tendency of just going at whatever section that they can find. But I try to find the low point, jump up, and then I just kind of swing my legs over it and just pull myself over it. So I kind of like chicken wing it to get over it.
There are going to be people there also helping you out. Like if you get there and you're like, I can't get over this, either there'll be someone waiting for you, or if you wait 5 minutes, someone will be coming up behind you that can help you over.
Yeah, absolutely.
After Skid Marked is Cage Crawl. Have you seen the new Cage Crawl?
No, I haven't.
They didn't even have this for us last year at World's Toughest. I've only seen it once, maybe twice this year. It's the regular cage crawl where you're on your back and you have a few inches of your face above the surface of the water, and you have a chain link fence kind of in your face holding you down. But
really?
But while you're doing the cage crawl, there's a 6 or 8 foot section of plexiglass where you can't breathe at all, and so you have to kind of scamper past this plexiglass real fast to get to the next cage section.
Is that a mandatory obstacle?
I don't know. Usually it is.
Oh boy.
Here's the secret to cage crawl is if you freak out, all you have to do is stand up, and those cages will fall out of place. Like they'll move immediately.
Well, that's a good tip for everyone.
Yeah, so if you're getting stressed out, just realize like there's really no danger. All you need to do is just put your feet down and stand up, and it's like 2 feet of water, 2.5 feet of water. But your brain's not telling you that while you're not able to breathe.
I'm usually freaking out through the thing, but not to the point where I think I need to do that. But that's definitely a good tip.
Does the water get to you?
Not really, but during that, since you have just what is it, like 5 or 6 inches, sometimes I'll I'm drinking all that the piss that people put in that water. So yeah.
Generally, you should probably keep your mouth closed then.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes I'm like, sometimes you might need the extra electrolytes and stuff, so that helps out.
We do not recommend that at all. Get some pickle juice. Save some pickle juice in the pit for you. After cage crawl, you're going to hit your 2-mile mark. Then your next obstacle is entrapment. Do you remember entrapment from World's Toughest last year?
Not at all. Was that the tube? That was like right after the first.
That's hydrophobia. Entrapment was the second electrical obstacle. You're crawling on your belly, and there are electrified wires, not hanging down like electroshock, but like they're kind of like long strips that are going horizontally above you.
Yeah.
And so you have to crawl low to the ground, and as you get toward the end of the obstacle, the wires, the electrified strips, are getting closer to your body. Basically, as long as you stay super, super low, you won't get shocked. There were a lot of people that didn't get shocked at all last year at World's Toughest.
Yep, I was one of them. So,
but if you let your butt get up, it'll push you back down fast. Yeah,
people could use it as a strategy to wake themselves up.
That's a good point. Some people, get a little adrenaline with the electrical stuff.
Yeah.
You have any tips for staying low on entrapment?
Just army crawl it, avoid it. And that's pretty much it.
The 9th obstacle is Augustus Gloop 2.0. What is Augustus Gloop?
It is a giant tube that you have to go up where water is raining down on you.
How do you get up Augustus Gloop?
Did we have that at World's Toughest last year? We did, right?
We did. They turned the water up pretty early, though.
Right, and it was kind of like the half tube, and it wasn't even like the whole like Augustus Gloop experience.
You know what? Yeah, so it's kind of weird. So last year, World's Toughest, they rolled out Augustus Gloop 2.0, but you know what? By the time, so you get to pass it once or twice because the obstacles are closed. By the time I got to it, probably my third lap, they had turned the water off, and they had unanchored the bottom of the tubes, so you didn't actually have to duck underwater. You could just kind of pull the tube forward, slide behind it, and then climb up. So it was a different experience for us last year at World's Toughest. Generally, you have to go underwater, and you get cold and wet then, and you got to climb up, and you're getting water sprayed down in your face the whole time. It's super cold, and for some reason, that always has the coldest water on the course.
Oh yeah, because people don't spend that much time in there. That's why. I mean, with that one, it's just making sure you're getting good holds in. Especially if they have the 2 different options that they had last year. It's just find whatever is the best suits your strengths and just go up it.
That's a good point. They had like rock climbing holds you could use, or not rock climbing, but like circle holds you could use, or like cut out like ladder steps almost.
Right. Yeah, and the obvious choice for me is the ladder steps.
I think it was easier. Yeah, and then I like to keep my head down, kind of tuck your chin down, so you can breathe while you're going up. After Augustus Gloop is hydrophobia. Hydrophobia is that first obstacle from World's Toughest last year, that tube in the water.
Yeah, that one totally sucks. It just, it's either army crawl it or, just kind of trying to do the worm in it. Either one of those techniques will help you get through that.
It's basically just going through a black tube that has like 4 inches of water in it.
Yeah.
But what's stressful to me about that obstacle is I don't know what's holding that tube up in the water, right? It's kind of suspended over the water. And I'm like,
yeah, it is. I never once considered that. I always thought that it was propped up at the bottom with some wood planks or something like that.
It's probably totally safe, right? But
yeah, I would think so.
But like in the middle of the night, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm halfway through this tube. If this thing starts sinking, I don't have a chance. I'm not joking. I was kind of getting worried about that.
You can't be thinking negatively. You got to think positive. Come on, man.
It gets you through it faster, though.
Yeah. No, that's true.
After hydrophobia is Everest 2.0.
I hate Everest 2.0. If we have the good fortune of having people supporting and staying out there and just kind of helping people up, that obstacle is a blast. But if you have to do it by yourself, it really just depends on the type of shoes that you're wearing. I've ran with some Brooks that have like a flatter, grippier bottom, but not too great for the type of terrain that we run in. And I've gone up that obstacle like with a breeze. But then I have my Solomons that have more of those like the spikes at the bottom, the lugs that if you want to call them that.
Sure.
And I cannot for the life of me get up that obstacle at all because it's it's just way too slippery. I did just get what's everyone on right now, the VJs, and supposedly they're very good with grip, so I'm hoping that might help out with that obstacle.
I've heard some people already talking that they're gonna, if the race isn't going well, they're just planning to help 100 mutters at some obstacle, maybe Everest. So
yeah. I mean, usually you always kind of have that group, and that's always great.
After Everest 2.0, you'll hit your 3-mile mark. Then the 12th obstacle is Block Ness Monster. What is Block Ness Monster?
It is these gigantic, long, square things that sit in water that are almost impossible to move by yourself. And you sit in about, 5 feet of water, and you kind of have to work as a team to get yourself over the obstacle. They rotate.
Can you get over it by yourself, or do you need help?
No, I can get over it by myself. Usually, again, it's just trying to find a point in the water where the highest point in the water, and then being able to just kind of use that to jump up.
It a lot depends on how deep the water is for this obstacle.
Right.
At Toughest Mudder South, I don't know if it was last year or a year before, the water was so deep you could almost go under the blocks instead of going over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was really kind of dangerous, actually.
Huh. I wonder if that's against the rules.
I would not recommend that, especially in the middle of the night with wetsuits. You get stuck underneath there, and they won't find you until they drain the thing.
Yep.
So the secret to Block Ness Monster is basically you need to do it especially if you're tired or whatever. You need to try and jump in there with a group of people, 3-4 people. You can go through it together. You help each other out, keep the block rolling, and get through it as a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
After Block Ness Monster is Pyramid Scheme. Tell me about Pyramid Scheme.
Pyramid Scheme. Which one is Pyramid Scheme again?
Pyramid Scheme is the slip wall. Usually for Toughest Mudder, they have a rope thrown down, so you don't have to.
Yep.
You don't have to pile on top of each other.
Yeah, that one's it's not too difficult of an obstacle, especially since they're not going to be frozen. It's just getting good cadence, moving up, and just move fast, and you should be all right. And I think last year at World Toughest they had at the midway point they had a rubber mat almost that you kind of help support yourself on when you were going up.
I think the most important thing about Pyramid Scheme is going down, just being careful not to injure yourself because you're kind of climbing down scaffolding almost. Just
on the other side.
Yeah. The 14th obstacle is Berlin Walls. How do you get over the Berlin Walls?
So I use that the little foothold that they have at the bottom. Jump straight up, muscle my way up, and then I just kind of do a flip over. I find that to be the most efficient way to get over it.
How do you flip over?
So when
so you put your right foot on the right foothold.
Yep. So so if I put my left foot on the hold, I just kind of just throw myself down to the other side. Does that make sense?
Nope. But again, like the inverted walls, like skid mark, there'll be people there that can help you out if you have trouble getting over.
Yeah.
A lot of these are like, they're not easy, but they're doable at the beginning of the race. But 8 hours, 12 hours later, you're not going to get through the course without some help.
Yeah, and then sometimes, especially with that, like the Berlin Wall on the sides, they usually have that one wooden plank that is kind of pyramid shaped. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can utilize that to get over as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're allowed to use the supports. You can help yourself. And if this is your first toughest mudder, you might not know, like, everyone out there is helping each other. Like, it's not, it's competitive, but everyone's out there working together, getting over obstacles together. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. Ask me for help. I'll help you guys out.
The 15th obstacle is Leap of Faith. At World's Toughest, it was the cargo net you had to jump out to, and it was just out of
Leap
reach.
Of Faith. Yeah, that one's a pretty good obstacle. A lot of upper body strength on that one. Once you can get your footing into the net, that's probably one of the most important things. So you can just kind of take some of the pressure off your upper body. Just making sure that you're holding the net at a the vertical angle, not at the horizontal angle. I find it to be easier to get up it that way. And then from there, it's just touching the pole and kind of wrapping your leg around and sliding down.
So yes, there's
if you're wearing.
Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're wearing like a wetsuit or pretty much if you're wearing a wetsuit and like a windbreaker jacket, it usually helps with the friction because your arms will get destroyed if you're not wearing something like that to kind of reduce some of the friction on that pole
when you're sliding down the backside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think a tip from, like, I had a hard time with this obstacle at World's Toughest. If you get on, you can jump, you can run out, you grab onto the cargo net. If you don't get up right away, do not waste a lot of energy trying to get up. Just fall down in the water and take the penalty. Yeah,
makes sense.
After Leap of Faith is the Gauntlet. Do you remember the Gauntlet from World's Toughest?
Oh yeah, that's a fun one.
The Gauntlet is 4 obstacles. Oh, go ahead.
Yep. Yeah. So 4 obstacles. One, you're going down a balance beam. Then after the balance beam is the traverse on is it the rings that we do after that?
I think it was the rings, and then it was
just the tip.
Just the tip, yeah.
And then at the end you had the I don't know what you call that, and that like gutbuster obstacle or whatever.
We got Gutbuster I think it was called Gutbuster, where you have your feet. It looks like on American Ninja Warrior they call it the human prop, something like that.
Yep.
Where you have you're stretching your body out horizontally, and your arms are leaning against the support, your feet are leaning against the support, and you have to move, 8, 10, maybe 12 feet.
Yep.
That's a hard obstacle. Those 4 back to back to back to back.
Yeah. I mean, with the O-rings, it's just for me, it's all about trying to find momentum and not trying to like muscle your way through that obstacle. If you get a good momentum going, then you should be fine. And then you have a rope towards the end that is trying to hold on to that rope that has a disc at the bottom. I'm pretty sure that if they have it similar set up to World's Toughest Mudder, you're going to experience that. That one can be a little bit challenging. After that, then it's just a tip. That's all grip based. That's pretty much a grip based obstacle. And then the Gutbuster thing, that one should be fairly easy if there's no ice on it.
After the Gauntlet is Arctic Enema. How do you get through Arctic Enema? As
fast as humanly possible. I hate Arctic Enema. That one I feel like I have some PTSD from, but you just have to try to get through it as quickly as possible. And then after you get out, oh wait, no. So there's a perfect strategy for this that I've always had every single year. I usually pee myself. So what I do is I hold my pee until this obstacle, and then after I'm done completing the obstacle is when you pee yourself. But you have to also like run as fast as you can after you get out of the obstacle, because if you let that cold settle in, you're going to be screwed. You're going to start cramping up, and all sorts of bad things are going to happen. So wait to pee yourself until after the obstacle, and then run fast, and then you should be good.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with strategically peeing yourself, Will Hicks.
Good tips. These are good. These are quality. You're not going to get this information anywhere else.
Exactly. This is how you keep your legs warm. All right.
Two things I've learned. Several things I've learned today. But before this conversation, two things about Arctic enema. One is no matter how long you stare at it, it's not going to get warmer. And so just get in there. Like, don't even think about it. Just get in there. And then second is, like you said, start running immediately. As soon as you get out, start running. And you need to get warmed up by whatever means necessary.
Yep, like peeing yourself.
After Arctic enema is Mutterhorn. Tell me about Mutterhorn.
Mutterhorn, that is that like a cargo net frame thing?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so if it's set up similar to how it was at World's Toughest Mudders, definitely going to need help getting up. So that is a very team-based obstacle. So most likely people will be there helping the next comer, get up it. And what I find to be, and I learned this from Morgan Mackay as she was coming down last year, was when you're coming down from the other side, is not to face a cargo net, but face away from it and utilize that supporting net that's there to get down, and it's way faster than trying to go down the other way.
So you go up facing the net, but after you cross the top, when you're heading back downhill or back down the net, you have your back to the A-frame, and you have your hands, because there's actually two nets. There's the net, the tight net, and then there's like a loose kind of a safety net pushing you against that first net.
Yes. Yep.
That sounds
that safety net.
That sounds kind of hairy. That's not.
Oh yeah, trust me. I thought it at first. I was like, man, that looks pretty dangerous. But then when I tried it myself, I actually felt safer, and I felt like I was getting down the thing a lot quicker.
I mean, I'm sure it's faster, but rolling down it would be faster too.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, well, that's man. If you're going for speed, that's. I did not try that. 24 hours. I didn't try that once, but that's a thought. The last obstacle is electroshock therapy. How do you do EST?
It depends. I mean, if TMHQ gets smart, and hopefully they're not listening to this podcast, and they put out a lot of wiring, then you're just gonna have to run as fast as humanly possible through it. But if it's kind of loose, sometimes you can find a route right through the entire obstacle where you're not gonna get shocked.
We were kind of crawling through it at World's Toughest last year. There was kind of a route, kind of circuitous, but you could crawl through and not get shocked.
So I didn't. I just found a path that I can just kind of sideways my way through the thing, and it was right through the middle, and I got through it without getting shocked at all.
So 19 obstacles, 5 miles. What do you think of this course?
I think it's a great course. If it's the same one that I ran 2 years ago, it was rolling grassy hills, not too technical at all. So there's definitely going to be some faster paces being set on this one. A very, very good venue. I thoroughly enjoyed my time last time that I ran this course.
We already talked about your plan for the cold. What is your plan for nutrition?
So Red Bull and donuts. That was my entire strategy last year for World's Toughest Mudder, and it worked then. And I hope it works now. Every single lap I had. Yeah.
No, every single lap you had what?
So I had warm water, a donut, and depending on what lap it was, I would have like a Red Bull.
What kind of donuts?
So I alternated between glazed donuts and chocolate frosted donuts. You
went 24 hours on warm water, glazed chocolate donuts, and Red Bull.
Yes.
What? How did your stomach treat you the next day?
It was fine. Actually. After the event, and also somebody gave me a warm egg McMuffin on like 2 laps before the whole thing ended, and that was great. It was fine. After the event, I actually ended up going back to the hotel. I had 30 chicken wings, 4 Blue Moons, and an entire large pizza. And I went to sleep like a baby.
That's one of the best things about World's Toughest Mudder is when it's over, you can eat like a horse, and you're still like at a calorie deficit.
Oh, it's insane. I was eating like this for like a month straight. There was no end to me. I was at work one day, and then I grabbed a lunch, and then I ended up having to grab 2 more lunches because there was just no amount of food that would satisfy the emptiness that World's Toughest Mudder left me with.
So after you finish each 5-mile lap, you'll come through the pit area where you can get that food, where you can change your wetsuit or add or take away clothing. What is your plan for your pit stops?
So a lot of it, my teammate will be on the sidelines or whoever. There's a couple of other people that are going to be down there. I'm pretty sure that I can find or will find somebody that's going to support us. If you're going for time, if you're going for speed, the most important thing is just to have somebody on the sideline already waiting with whatever you need, and spend 0 time in the pit. If you're running solo, that is. Since we're running team relay, or the first lap we're going to run together, and then he's going to set out and probably do 2 laps, and then I'll go and set out and do another 3 laps. But the strategy is just to be waiting on the sideline with whatever they're going to need. But for the most part, like with shoes and stuff like that, I don't change out of that. Wetsuit, it just depends on how you're feeling. Most likely the first lap you should be running. If you're going for speed, probably run it with as little clothes as you can have on, and then before the cold starts to set in, put on the wetsuit and continue running.
Javier, any other thoughts or advice you would give people running this weekend?
Stay positive. Just make sure that you encourage other people out on the course. It'll definitely help you out, and I know it helped me out during World's Toughest Mudder. So, just be supportive. Stay positive. Once if you hit most likely if you're inexperienced, you'll hit a dark place, and even if you're experienced, I think you hit a dark place. But it's knowing that at some point that's going to end. And that, you're there for a reason, and that you have all this overwhelming support from everyone around you, and everyone wants you to do great. So just try to stay positive, and continue pushing, and you'll come out victorious.
We haven't talked about it yet, Javier, but you are a sponsored athlete. Tell me about that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, there was another podcast that was chasing me for months and months, and they were asking me to do, egregious things like get naked on social media and stuff like that. And I totally didn't want to do that. It wasn't for my image. And then I had Obstacle Running Adventures approach me, and they said, they wanted to officially sponsor me on a live chat, which I immediately agreed to. And yeah, so it's been great so far. My relationship with Mike and Kate, they're amazing podcast hosts, and they're amazing human beings. So I love it.
How has your career changed since you became a sponsored athlete?
So they match my 401k contributions. They pay for all my gym memberships. They're paying for everything going down to this event this coming weekend. Actually, they're driving me down there. They were like, no, Javier, you cannot drive down there. We're going to drive you down there, and then we're going to get you a hotel, put you in a hotel, and all that good stuff. So it's been incredible. Yeah.
Probably like a limo, huh?
It might be. I don't know. I think they might. I think they were talking about renting an Escalade or something like that. Yeah. So
how can people find the Obstacle Running Adventures podcast?
They can find it on anywhere that you get podcasts. And so they're on Apple. Is it the Apple iTunes?
Apple Podcasts, yeah. iTunes.
Apple iTunes podcast thing. Yeah, they're primarily on that. They're also on social media. So they have a Facebook page. They have, if you want to support them, they have a Patreon page as well. Yeah. That's pretty much. I think that's all of them, right?
We're big fans of Mike and Caitlin over here.
Okay, great. That's awesome.
Javier, how can people follow you on social media?
I'm on Instagram at Escobar_OCR. I'm also on Facebook. My friends list has blown up, so I'm like actively deleting and adding people all the time. Yeah, so if you request me on there, I might or might not accept you, but just shoot me a message and I'll always talk to you.
Javier, any last thoughts on Toughest Mudder East?
No. just like I said, everyone just go out there, enjoy yourselves. If this is your first time, it's going to be a great experience. It's going to be a very memorable one. So just cherish it and do great.
Javier Escobar, thanks much.
Thank you. Love you. Bye.
Special thanks to Javier Escobar for appearing on today's episode. Well done, Javier. Something I forgot to mention. If you would like to leave a review for the podcast on Apple Podcasts, I would be grateful. And hopefully that review would be 5 stars. It's funny how that kind of became its own thing, right? I was looking at getting vanity plates for my SUV, and I thought about getting 5 stars. But I was like, that's kind of pretentious, right? And then I'm like, what vanity plate is not pretentious? Because they kind of all are, right? Can you think of one that's not kind of showy? Yeah, I'm not going to do it. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Click that purple podcast button. Search for World's Toughest Podcast. Click our logo. Then scroll down to click Write a Review. And I will read it on a future episode. I am so glad to talk with you again. Let me know what you're up to. Shoot me an email, willhicks@gmail.com. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. I will talk with you soon. Go spend time with someone you love.